It's time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Arizona Diamondbacks. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Friday evening to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium, Game 1 of the three-game series with Arizona. The Dodgers, because the Giants lost yesterday, Dodgers trail now by only 2 games, and they have this three-game series with Arizona. The Giants have their hands full. They lost yesterday, 3 more games left with the Washington Nationals. So the Dodgers, back in the 18th of May, were a game and a half back, then fall off the edge of the table, 8 games back, and they fought their way back now to 2. Dodgers struggling with Arizona. Oh, yes, they've won 5 of 9, but Arizona won 2 of the last 3 the last time they met. Arizona, well, having a lot of trouble at home. They're 17-35. On the road, however, not bad, 25-25. Since the 27th of June, the Dodgers have made a move. They won 16 of 25. Arizona, unfortunately, going the other way, they've gone 6-20. The pitchers, well, Zach Godley will be on the mound. Big right-hander out of South Carolina. Went to school at Tennessee. He is 3-1, 7-2 in his 10 major league starts. And Kenta Maeda on the mound for the Dodgers, 9-7. He'll be happy when July is over. He is 2-2 in the month and an earned run average over 5. 1-1 against Arizona. Tomorrow's game, remember, 6:10, and it'll be Shipley and Kazmir. So pull up a chair. We have a good one coming for you, and a whole lot more right after this. Good evening to you, wherever you may be. We're at Dodger Stadium, ready to break the seal on a 3-game series with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Kenta Maeda going to the mound with a record of 9-7. He has struggled in July. He's not a big man at all. He has 1 win and 1 loss, and pitching later in the game, he seems to run out of steam. In fact, in looking at the way he has pitched, first time through the lineup, the opposition is hitting 178. Second time around, the opposition is hitting 204. Third time around, the opposition is hitting 341. So you can imagine Chip Hale's lineup. He's based on the idea of strength going up against Maeda and trying to wear him down. Here's the way Arizona shapes up. They're in last place, 17 games behind the Giants, but they are 50-50 on the road. Gene Segura opens up at second base. Michael Bourne in center. Paul Goldschmidt, a terror against the Dodgers, especially here at Dodger Stadium, followed by the newest star in the league, and that would be the third baseman, Jake Lamb. Wellington Castillo behind the plate. David Peralta has been on the DL, and this will be his first game back. He'll be in right field. Yasmani Tomas in left. Chris Owings had been in DL. He's back. And the pitcher for tonight would be Zach Godley. Kenta Maeda tuning up. 20 starts under his belt. A good ERA of 3.2. Dodger pitching has been somewhat remarkable. Despite the fact that they have lost Clayton Kershaw for a while, the opposition is hitting only .221 against Dodger pitchers. So the entire staff, and especially the bullpen, has done remarkably well. Clayton is here, of course, rooting for his teammates, if nothing else, and we just await to see and find out about his progress and when he will play. Here's the way the Dodgers shape up defensively. Gonzalez and Utley, Seager and Turner, Kendrick, Peterson and Tolles, with Ellis behind the plate and Maeda on the mound. By the way, I think we had A.J. Ellis, the catcher, and that's wrong. It's Yasmani Grandal. There's no mistaking Grandal as he crouches behind the plate. So Gene Segura, who is a notorious first ball hitter, and we'll see how Maeda takes care of him. And Gene Segura checking in, right-hand batter, bent slightly at the knees and waist. And the first pitch to him is taken for a strike, 0-1. Among other things for Segura, if he gets to second base, he is a threat to steal third. He has stolen third base 5 times. Runs well. He's had 17 infield hits. Maeda's strike 1 pitch on the way. Segura fouls it away, and the count 0-2. Segura hitting .314, 8 home runs, 40 runs batted in, and if he gets on the base, hold on, he has stolen 17 out of 24. It's also 80 degrees right now as the game gets underway. Maeda into his windup, and the strike 2 pitch on the way. Slider chased and missed. Down and away off the plate, and down goes Segura. So 1 out, and Michael Bourne coming up. Michael Bourne, among other things, speed is his game. Fine center fielder. He will bunt on you. He has a half a dozen bunt singles, and as he checks in, Justin Turner in on the edge of the grass just looking for them. Hitting .400 against the Dodgers this year, and the left-hander waits. Maeda ready and deals, and the fastball off the plate, ball 1. 1-0. For Arizona, a last place team, but not when they're on the road. They're at least .500. 1-0 pitch on the way. A check swing, and that's low. 2 balls and no strikes. Waiting on deck, always the big gun, Paul Goldschmidt. 2 balls and no strikes. Michael Bourne, the batter, 1 out. First inning, no score. Maeda's change, a little bend to the end of it, in for a strike, and the count 2-1. So Kenta Maeda trying to keep things going. Dodgers in fine fettle. Remember, a month ago they trailed by 8. Right now they trail by 2. 2-1 pitch, fastball on the outside corner, and the count 2-2. Now with 2 strikes, Justin Turner goes back to a normal depth. The threat of the bunt is about gone. And the 2-2 pitch to Michael Bourne is swung on and hit foul outside of first, down to Dave McKay, the first base coach. What do you think of the Arizona uniform? Well, that's just a question. Michael Bourne wearing number 1. They don't really make a statement. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. And Bourne hits a fly ball to center. Peterson is right there waiting. And there's the second out. 2 out, Paul Goldschmidt coming up. Paul Goldschmidt, facing Kenta Maeda, is hitting .250, 2 for 8. Goldie always one of the top offensive players, hitting .298, 17 home runs, 65 runs batted in. However, he's had a tough time this year without A.J. Pollock hitting in front of him. Though Goldie backs out for the moment. Last year, Pollock meant a great deal. He had 39 doubles, 20 home runs, 39 steals. Every time Goldie came up, there was Pollock on base. Paul hits a ground ball through into the hole in left field. Though a 2-out single. Goldschmidt, by the way, hitting .342 in his career at Dodger Stadium. The greatest hitter in the history of Dodger Stadium, the visitor, Roberto Clemente, hit about .372. So with 2 out, a runner at first, and here's the latest star, and a good one he is, Jake Lamb. Lamb, one of the top offensive players, hitting .289, 21 home runs, 65 runs batted in, and he also has 8 triples. About 14% of his plate appearances are home runs. So Maeda set, careful, comes to him. First pitch in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Jake Lamb is hitting .714 against Maeda. 5 for 7 with a couple of doubles and a home run. So the young left-hand hitter checking in. Maeda at the belt, looks at Goldschmidt and throws over there. Goldschmidt, as big as he is also a threat stealing a base. He has stolen 14 out of 18. So Maeda has to watch him. 2 down, first inning, no score. Kenta at the belt. Another look over at Goldie. The pitch to Lamb. Fly ball to left field. Coming over from a long distance is Kendrick to make a diving catch for the out. The Howie had to come a long way, and he was equal to the challenge. For Arizona, no runs, 1 hit, and a man left. And at the end of half an inning, Arizona nothing, and the Dodgers coming up. Arizona gets a base hit, but they leave the man. And here come the Dodgers now to see what they can do against young Zach Godley. And it'll be Chase Utley at second, Corey Seager at short, Justin Turner at third, Adrian Gonzalez at first. Howie Kendrick, who made that good play in left field, Yasmani Grandal behind the plate. Andrew Toles in right field, Jock Peterson in center, and Kenta Maeda on the mound. On the mound for Arizona, a good-sized Zach Godley out of South Carolina, went to school at Vanderbilt, about 6'3" and 235, and he'll start off going up against Utley. So the big right-hander ready and comes over the top, snapping a fastball away, and a 1-ball, no-strike count. Interesting thing about the fact that Godley is having a lot of trouble against left-hand batters. Dodgers have stacked the lineup with left-handers. The 1-0 pitch on the way, dips a little low, ball 2. So the Dodgers have Utley, Seager, Gonzalez, Grandal, Toles, and Peterson all hitting left-handed. Godley ready. Zach comes back 2-0, gets it in for a strike, and the count 2-1. Picked up his first major league victory against Milwaukee, and he is 7-2 in 10 big league starts. 2-1 pitch on the way to Chase Utley, hit in the air to center and deep. Going back is Bourne to the track at the wall, leaps up and makes the catch. Chase Utley missing a home run by a foot or two, an extra base hit by inches, and instead Michael Bourne, a fine defensive center fielder. He had a good jump. He was on when he hit the track. You had the feeling he would make the catch, and he leaps in the air right at the base of the wall, and his glove actually was above the wall, so that might have gone out. So a big play by Michael Bourne, and just like that, one away. Jason Bourne would have loved it as Seager hits a ground ball to short. Routine play to first for the out, and just like that, 2 down. We'll take a look now at Arizona, and we start off with Goldschmidt and Segura, Owings and Lamb, Tomas, Bourne, and Peralta, and Castillo handling Godley. Justin Turner coming up. Dodgers have had a lot of hot hitters, 5 of them, well, 4 at least. But in the month of July, Kendrick has hit .373, Turner .329, Seager .317, Gonzalez .305, and Grandal .304. Grandal and Turner each with 7 home runs in the month. So Turner takes low, ball 1, 1-0. Two down, first inning, no score. Giants will have their hands full. Max Scherzer on the mound for the Washington Nationals, and the pitch inside to Justin. 2 balls and no strikes. Max Scherzer with a record of 10-6. Good earned run average, 2.9. Jeff Samardzija, 9-6. Kind of a high ERA, over 4. Next one to Turner, in for a strike. Giants made a deal. As you know, the deadline runs out on Monday at 1 p.m. Giants got a third baseman from Minnesota, Eduardo Nunez. They sent a left-hander, Alberto Mejia, to Minnesota. Meanwhile, Turner, fly ball to right, and just like that, that's it. So a very easy inning for Zach Godley, and at the end of an inning, no score, thanks to the great catch by Bourne in center field. in the ball game, Arizona and the Dodgers. It'll be Kenta Maeda going up against Zach Godley, and Wellington Andres Castillo checking in. With a name like Wellington, and if you are 5'10" and you're hitting at least 205 pounds, it's natural the nickname is Beef Wellington. He's also a very good player. Half a dozen home runs on the road, 11 all told, and batting .261. Maeda ready, comes to his hitter, gets a strike, 0-1. When Maeda is pitching on 5 days rest, his record is 5-1, and it should be duly noted he is pitching on 5 days rest. Here's the strike one pitch on the way. Kind of works inside under the hands. 1 ball and 1 strike. Maeda on 6 days rest, 1-1. 4 days rest, 3-5. So Kenta trying to win his 10th. Into his windup, and the 1-1 pitch on the way, off speed and away. Change high and outside. 2 balls and 1 strike. Diamondbacks, going back to April of 2014, have lost 17 of 21 here at Dodger Stadium. Maeda ready in his 2-1 pitch coming up. Fastball pulled foul outside of third. 90-mile-an-hour fastball, and Wellington checked that it was a strike. Meanwhile, Chip Hale rubbing his hands together. 1 minute looks like he's praying, the next minute applauding, and then again trying to shake something up. 2 balls and 2 strikes the count. Maeda goes to the rosin bag. I would think pitching tonight in the humidity and the fact it's 80 degrees at game time, your hands become full of perspiration. Off speed, bang to third, up with it is Turner. Takes a look and fires over to get the out. And we have 1 away in the 2nd inning. And the batter will be David Peralta. Peralta has been on the DL, and I'm certainly happy that Arizona must be glad to get him back. Good all-around ball player. Peralta hitting .259. He's reinstated today. He had lower back spasms and sprain. So he worked very carefully at Reno, and now he's back in the big leagues and fouls the pitch away. So David Peralta, 1 out, 1st inning, no score. I don't know, it seems so sad. You have Arizona and the Dodgers. You have the natural setup of Zach Greinke and Clayton Kershaw, and the fates have decreed perhaps they won't face each other all year. Strike 1 pitch on the way, swung on and fouled off. So 0-2 the count to David Peralta. Kershaw in the Dodger dugout reeling on, talking to Brett Anderson. I'm not really sure where Zach Greinke would be at the moment. No balls and 2 strikes. Maeda into his windup. The left-hand hitting Peralta has a look, and it's just off the plate. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Maeda works nicely, easily, comes back high, though he's now evened up the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes. One out, bases empty. 2nd inning, no score. David Peralta returning to the starting lineup, and the 2-2 pitch high and away, ball 3. 3-2. David Peralta has Tomas hitting behind him. Once upon a time he was a pitcher and released by the Cardinals. Went home somewhat depressed, fought his way back to become a big league outfielder. He's from Venezuela and hits a high fly ball to left center. Running parallel to the wall is Peterson, and makes the catch for the out. So fly ball to deep left center field. 2 out in the 2nd inning. And the batter now, Yasmani Tomas. Tomas The stocky left fielder has some power. He has 17 home runs. Interestingly enough, he has hit 14 of the 17 home runs on the road. One reason maybe why they're break even on the road, 25 and 25, and way under 500 at home. So Tomas waiting. Into the windup goes Maeda, and the first pitch fastball in for a strike at 91. Yasmani Tomas. You can see another reason, with more home runs on the road, he's also a far better hitter, hitting .307, .223 at home. Strike one pitch on the way, off speed, and Tomas just couldn't wait for it, way out in front of him. He's 6'1" and 230. So you have two Yasmanis in the game. That's kind of a one in a million. Yasmani Tomas and Yasmani Grandal. Tomas from Cuba. Strike two pitch on the way. Maeda deals off the plate in the dirt, and a new ball put in play. Tomas back in 2014. He was 24 years old, and he signed a 6-year deal worth about $68 million. Here's the 1-2 pitch. Maeda works very high, 2-2. No score. Top of the second inning. Arizona and the Dodgers tomorrow night at 6:10. And the 2-2 pitch coming up. Maeda delivers, and it's hit late and foul down the line. The Maeda trying to conserve his strength. He has a tendency to run out. Of course, understandably, this is a totally different experience for him. Pitching now in the U.S. as opposed to Japan. I think even the ball is different, a little smaller in Japan. 2-2 pitch. That's a little low ball, 3-2. So there's a lot of problems going on. You realize Maeda trying to learn English. Tomas, same trouble trying to learn English. Here's the 3-2 pitch on the way. Maeda deal, swung on and missed, and down goes Tomas. So Maeda picks up his second strikeout. He retired 4 in a row, and at the end of an inning and a half, no score. Second inning, no score in the ball game, and it'll be Adrian Gonzalez then Howie Kendrick and Yasmani Grandal. Talking about the Dodgers doing well in July, Adrian hitting .305 with 3 of his 9 home runs, looking for number 300 in his career. So Zachary Thomas Godley on the mound, and the big right-hander ready and delivers. Adrian takes way off the plate, ball 1. Godley was originally a 10th round pick by the Cubs out of the University of Tennessee. He's big, 6'3", 245, and 26 years old. 1-0 pitch on the way, swung on and missed, and a 1-ball-1-strike count. Adrian Gonzalez, as we had mentioned, one of the 5 red-hot Dodger hitters in July. Godley looks down the barrel, turns on the rubber, and his 1-1 pitch swung on and fouled back, and the count 1-2. Dodgers begin the night 2 games behind the Giants. Giants have just really started. They lost yesterday. They have 3 more games against Washington, while the Dodgers are playing Arizona. 1-2 pitch is a line drive base hit to left field. So Gonzalez got a pitch up and away, and he's such a smart hitter, he would never think of trying to pull it, and banged it to left. Well, for those who pitch for Arizona, the names that frighten them, the active players who wear them out: Freeman, 388, Myers, 383, Altuve, 375, Kendrick, 362, Votto, 359. And Kendrick, having a marvelous month of July, hitting .373 with 3 home runs. Godley over the top, good fastball in for a strike, and the count 0-1. So Kendrick checking with Chris Woodward. Right-hand batters are hitting .297. Left-hand batters are hitting only .200, though it's amazing the Dodgers stacked the lineup with left-hand hitters. Strike 1 pitch, and that's low. 1-1 the count. Dodgers, by the way, are hitting .253 as a team against right-handers, and only .217 for Dave Roberts against left-handers. So here's the 1-1 pitch coming up to Howie Kendrick. Godley set at the belt. The 1-1 fastball is whacked into right center. Bourne on the run, makes the catch for the out. Boy, he had to have a good jump on that, because it was whacked, and it was just starting to slice, and Michael was able to catch up to it. Nice play, the second one of the game by Bourne, and he just caught up to it, no doubt about it. So Gonzalez singles to left. Kendrick lines out to center, and with 1 away, Yasmani Grandal. So we had a Gold Glove when Tampa Bay was here. Kiermaier, remember, playing center field. And we have a Gold Glove in Michael Bourne out there in center field. First pitch on the outside corner for a strike to Grandal. Another look over by Godley. Gonzalez short lead. Strike 1 pitch on the way, swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. Not only does Godley dominate left-hand batters, he's allowed only 2 extra base hits by a left-hand batter. He's allowed 15 to right-hand batters. So Gonzalez at first, held on by Goldschmidt. 1 out, second inning, no score. Godley back, and that swung on and missed, so down goes Grandal. One of the things they say about Godley is he has a very good movement. He has a fastball that sinks. He also has a cutter, curveball, and a change. He mixes them up very well. In fact, last year in July, he became the first pitcher in the modern era to throw 6 scoreless innings with at least 7 strikeouts and no walks in his first career start in the major leagues. Zach ready, off speed, changeup is high, 1 ball and no strike. Andrew Toles batting .290. Gives you a lot of speed, coverage in the outfield. Left-hand batter in a crouch and takes high and away. 2-0. In matching one year to another, talking about Zach Godley, last year when he pitched in Arizona, his earned run average was 1.4. This year it's 4.8. Huge difference. Next one to Toles, way off the plate. Jock Peterson on deck. 2 out, second inning, no score. Adrian Gonzalez singled, opening up the inning, and over there at first base. Toles, smallish left-hand batter, runs well. 3-0 pitch, very high. So 2 on for the Dodgers. Gonzalez a base hit, now a 2-out walk to Toles, and the batter is Jock Peterson.
Fielder, number 31, Jock Peterson.
So Peterson coming up, hitting .234, but about 100 points more than that against Arizona. He has 2 of his 13 home runs against the D-backs. And better ready to check in. 2 on, 2 out, no score, second inning. For some reason, Godley has been giving up a lot of hits with 2 out. Well, he has 2 out here, second inning, no score. Zach Reddy comes to his hitter and slips it low, ball 1. The opposition is hitting .350 against Zach Godley with 2 out. Last year with 2 out, they hit .128. So he's certainly become a different pitcher from last year in this. 1 ball and no strikes. Godley looks back at Gonzalez, works it a little low, though he's 2-0 to Peterson. Kenta Maeda on deck. Godley, right foot on the rubber, trying to hide the ball back of his right hip. Peterson waiting on a 2-0 count. Godley, a long look, now hands together at the belt. Another look back at Gonzalez. 2-0 pitch, and that's a strike, and the count 2-1. That's another thing about Godley. Last year, when the hitter was ahead, they batted .256. This year, when the hitter is ahead, they're batting .364. Well, Peterson's ahead. 2 balls and 1 strike. Godley at the belt. Another look back at Gonzalez. Fastball whacked to left. Going back is Tomas, watching it go up against the bullpen gate. Scoring is Gonzalez, and right behind him comes Toles. A 2-run double by Peterson, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. So it certainly followed the script. Fall behind, and Godley gets crushed. So behind 2-1, he gives up the double to chase home 2, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. Now, Maeda coming up with a 2-0 lead. So both Gonzalez and Toles scoring easily. 2-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the second inning. Godley set at the belt, looks back at Peterson, works a strike to Maeda. So Gonzalez singled with 2 outs, Toles walk, and he fell behind 2-1 to Peterson, who doubled in the 2 runs. Now the strike 1 pitch on the way, and Maeda swings, doesn't get it, and the count 0-2. They are in the second inning up north. Nationals nothing, Giants nothing. Dodgers trail the Giants by 2. strike two pitch, ground ball to third. Up with it, there's Lamb. Fires in the dirt, and a nice save by Goldschmidt, and the inning is over. So the Dodgers, 2 runs, 2 hits and a walk. Double by Peterson chases home the 2. Cole scoring along with Gonzalez, and it's 2-0 Dodgers. In 2, Dodgers lead 2-0. What must be particularly galling to Chick Hale and, of course, the pitcher, Godley. We told you that he has stuffed the left-hand hitters. They're batting only .200 against him. However, Gonzalez singled, Coles walked, and Peterson doubled. So all 3 left-hand hitters produced, and the Dodgers lead 2-0. It'll be Chris Owings, then Godley, and Gene Segura in that order. Owings banged up. He had a bad shoulder. He had surgery in October, the end of 2014. Lives in Gilbert, Arizona, and takes high ball 1. Owings, a first-round pick by the Diamondbacks out of high school, grew up in South Carolina. Finally came up 2013. 1-0 pitch on the way. Owings takes inside, ball 2, 2-0 the count. Owings apparently winning the battle over Didi, the other shortstop, and then just as soon as it looked like he had it, Nick Ahmed came along. Ahmed is the regular shortstop, but he's banged up and on the DL. So the 2-0 pitch on the way, taken for a strike, and the count 2-1. Of course, the biggest blow of all to Arizona before the year even began was the play at the plate in an exhibition game that ruined Pollock, and they lost him for the year. 2-1 pitch is a ground ball to the right side. Utley is up with it easily, and just like that, 1 away here in the 3rd. A.J. Pollock, a sensational player, had a great year, and then boom. It was just an exhibition game as he came down the line from 3rd. The throw to the plate, again, exhibition, and he went in and was out for the year. What a heartbreak for him and, of course, for Arizona. But it's typical of Pollock. That's the way he played. I mean, you would think that was the last play of the World Series. Instead, just an exhibition game. Big curveball for a strike. Godley gives way, and the count 0-1. So for Chip Hale, that had to be painful to lose. If not his #1 player, that might be Goldschmidt, certainly #2. Strike 1 pitch, swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. Godley 1 for 8, but he has struck out 5 of the 8 bats, hitting .125. Maeda working quickly and comes back, and it is swung on and missed. Then we have 2 down. 3 strikeouts now for Kenta Maeda. Say a reminder, don't miss Dodgers and the Red Sox starting Friday, August 5th through Sunday, August the 7th. It'll be the only time the Dodgers and Red Sox meet this year, so don't wait. Buy your tickets. Visit Dodgers.com/tickets and say goodbye and hello to Big Papi. Well, here's Segura, first ball hitter. Takes it off the plate, ball 1. Segura struck out in the first inning. 316 with 8 home runs. And remember, he has 17 infield hits. Big swing and a miss, and the count 1 ball and 1 strike. Well, we get a report. Second inning, Giants got a run. Gregor Blanco singled home the first run of the night. So Giants 1, Washington nothing at the end of 2. Scherzer and Samardzija. The 1-1 pitch on the way. Swung on, pull foul. 1-2 to Segura. Sounded up here like he cracked it, almost like a celery stalk. Segura from San Juan, but San Juan in the Dominican Republic, not Puerto Rico. 1-2 pitch on the way to Gene, and he takes low. Segura earlier this year had a home run inside the park. The Brewers traded Greinke to the Angels for Segura. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. Gene fouls it away. A couple of years ago, he had 6 singles in a ball game. Jesus Alou, he was the third of the famous Alou brothers. That would be Jesus, Matty, and Felipe. Alou, not only with the 6 hits, he had them off 6 different pitchers. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Segura promptly bangs it to the gap in left center, and on the dead run, the Dodgers see Kendrick make a great running catch. Kendrick turned with his back to the infield, running parallel to the wall with Peterson, and at the last minute reached up and plucked it out of the air, left arm fully extended. Wonderful play. We've seen 3. Maeda applauds, and at the end of 2.5, 2-0 Dodgers. Two to nothing in favor of the Dodgers, and it'll be Utley Seager and Turner. Godley ready. Fastball a little low. Ball one. 1-0. Utley hitting .256. Half a dozen home runs. 30 runs batted in. They load up the right side. 1 ball and no strikes to Chase. Swings, big chopper to the first baseman. Goldie hands it over, and we have one away as Godley steps on the bag. With 1 out, Corey Seager coming up. Corey Seager has had a great month of July, hitting .317. However, no home runs. 17 for the year, 46 runs batted in. The one big difference, the no home runs. He had 2 in April, 7 in May, 8 in June, 0 in July, and the first thought in the baseball community, he messed up his swing in the home run hitting contest. I'm not going to say he did that, but I'm just saying he's got zip in the home run column for the month. 2-0 pitch, big chopper, going to be a foul ball, though Seager will come back and try it again. Corey, 12 RBIs in April, 15 in May, 13 in June, half a dozen in July. However, he had .301 in May, .343 in June, and .317 in July. And of course, we're running out of July. We'll be finished with it on Sunday. 1 ball and 1 strike to Corey Seager. Godley pushes one up there, kind of a changeup. 2-1 the count. Zachary Thomas Godley, 6'3", 245. He came to the Diamondbacks in the deal that sent Miguel Montero to the Cubs. 2-1 pitch on the way. Half swing for a strike. 2-2. For Montero, even though he had a lot of friends in Arizona and he was certainly beloved by the community, he goes from the last place Arizona Diamondbacks to the first place Cubs. 2-2 on the way. Corey breaks his bat and hits one foul, and that broken bat almost got the pitcher. It's way out at the edge, almost the rim behind second base. Boy, that was dangerous. That bat disintegrated. And of course, for Godley, he's in his follow through, and here comes that bat like a runaway piece of wood. He just did a good job avoiding it and not falling down. Worst broken foul ball, broken bat. Oh, I saw Steve Yeager get hit in the neck. So right-hander with the Cardinals take one in the face in spring training. So they are dangerous. All right, Seager with a new bat and a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Larry Jackson of the Cardinals. 2-2 pitch on the way, swung on and lined to left field. So a base hit for Corey. And the batter will be Justin Turner. So twice now, Godley has tried to go away, and Adrian Gonzalez single to left. Now Corey singles to left. Justin Turner, he went the other way and flied to right. When the Diamondbacks acquired Godley, he was no longer a relief pitcher as he was with the Cubs. They moved him right into the starting rotation. He had been the reliever 2 years with Chicago. Right-hander ready. Turner waits. Godley delivers a strike, and the count 0-1. They say Godley has a very good sinker, though he's had 3 ground balls. Zach straightens up, taking a long look, turn away. Now the pitch, and Justin lifts it into right field. Playing deep and coming back is Peralta, and David is there to make the catch. 2 down, and the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez. One of the things they talked about, Zach Godley, because he does have a good sinker, that he doesn't give up a lot of home runs. Well, so far this year, he's allowed only 3. Diamondbacks really struggling. Since the 25th of June, Arizona has a record of 6-20. Godley is a much better pitcher when the bases are empty than when he has to pitch out of a stretch. He has a runner at first and misses ball 1 to Adrian Gonzalez. With nobody on, the opposition hitting just .230. With runners on base, .364. Godley takes a look over at Seager, and the 1-0 pitch Adrian takes in the dirt. 2 balls and no strikes. So Godley, just 26 years old, really starting out as a starting pitcher. Gonzalez, 299 career home runs. He has 107 runs batted in his career. He's right behind Todd Helton, punishing Arizona. 2-0 pitch, check swing in the dirt. 3-0. Yeah, Todd Helton, while he played for Colorado, had 138 runs batted in against the Diamondbacks. Gonzalez has 107. (3-0) to Adrian Gonzalez. Waiting on deck, Howie Kendrick. Dodgers lead 2-0, bottom of the 3rd. Godley at the belt, looks at Seager, works Gonzalez, a strike, and the count 3-1. Howie Kendrick, who fly deep to center in the 2nd inning, has one of the top batting averages against Arizona amongst active players. Freeman, Myers, Altuve, and then Howie Kendrick. 3-1 pitch. Adrian looks at another strike, and the count 3-2. So with a full count, 2 down, Seager ready to go. In fact, Goldschmidt now is off the bag, about 5 feet behind. There goes Seager, and the pitch is swung on and missed, and down goes Gonzalez. So in the 3rd inning, no runs, 1 hit, a man left, and at the end of 3-2 Dodgers. Is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the all-new Jack's Brewhouse Bacon Burger today at Jack in the Box for a limited time only at participating restaurants. Three famous managers: Joe McCarthy of the Yankees, Mel Ott of the Giants, Leo Durocher of the Dodgers. It was June the 26th, 1944, in the Polo Ground. Well, the first thing that occurs to you, if you're old enough to think that way, 1944, the United States was at war. And the reason the three managers and the three teams got together, exhibition to raise money for the war effort. And they had kind of a triple header, but not really 9 innings each game. Michael Bourne flied to center, 0 for 1. As we mentioned, he loves to bunt. He has a half a dozen of them. Turner on the edge of the grass. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count. Maeda into the windup. This is the second time around for him. Good sinker on the outside corner. Second time around. The opposition is hitting only .204 against Kenta. It is the third time that knocks him out. The opposition hitting .341. Well, we'll see about that tonight. Dodgers lead 2-0, fourth inning. 2-2. Not only since April of 2014 is Goldie Wakes on deck. Not only have the D-backs lost 17 of 21 at Dodger Stadium, they managed 2 runs or less in about half the games. Ground ball to Utley. 1 away. So 1 down, and here comes trouble as Michael Bourne walks away downcast. Paul Goldschmidt single to left field in the first inning. You could spend a good hour, I think, talking about Goldschmidt and all the great things that he does. He came into the game hitting .342 at Dodger Stadium, and he got a base hit. So he's probably moved up a couple of points. Takes a strike, 0-1. Goldschmidt is a big man. He is 6'3", 245 pounds. 29 years old in September. 0-2. Last year, Goldschmidt was so good. He had 33 home runs and 110 runs batted in. Growing up, he didn't want to play baseball. He wanted to play soccer. 0-2. Ball 1. One of his first memories, he said, my mom kept asking me to play. She said, look, your dad really wants you to play baseball. Just go to one practice. If you hate it, you don't have to play again. Oh, okay, Ma, you know. But I really want to play soccer. Well, here he is. 1-2. I know he made over $3 million last year, and he figures to make a lot more money than he ever would have made at soccer. 2-2. Three and 2. Brian Knight is the plate umpire. Brian has been here before. He had a no-hitter when he worked the plate. He handled John Lester's no-hitter 8 years ago at Fenway Park. But he's a very proud brother, and well, he should be. Staff Sergeant Kevin Knight of the United States Marine Corps, 5 tours of duty in Iraq and Afghanistan. Brian Knight, born in Montana. 3-2 to Goldie. 1 out, fourth inning. 2-0 in favor of the Dodgers. A sliced 1 hopper, and we have 2 down. And the batter now will be Jake Lamb.
Number 22,
Lamb has all kinds of credentials. He has the highest rate of extra base hits to plate appearances, about 14%. Third highest rate at bats to an RBI, about every 1 in 5, and it goes on and on. 17 home runs against right-hand pitching. Foul back. Lamb has 21 home runs, 65 runs batted in. Everybody is now oohing and ahhing about him. He's out of Seattle, Washington. 0-2. Lamb, anything but a lamb. He is 6'3", 220, only 26 years old. Last year, a half a dozen home runs, 34 runs batted in. What he did watching A.J. Pollock, he lowered his hands a bit to level the swing, and it's really paid off. 1-2 the count. Kenta Maeda made only 57 pitches. Time. First day in the big leagues 2 years ago, he was 1 for 4, hitting a home run to left field. His parents were there. He got them the ball. One ball and 2 strikes to Jake Lamb. He actually got lost the night where he hit the home run, trying to get back home. And he drives one, but it is slicing, room service, and gets over the head of Kendrick. Anything but. It looked like the ball was going to come to Kendrick. So did he. But Howie instead fooled, and that line drive took off. So Jake Lamb doubles to left field with 2 out in the 4th inning. Kendrick, who's always been a solid second baseman, learning to play left field and has done a wonderful job. It's the rare moment where a ball fools him like that one. So Lamb, a hard double to left field. Lamb now has 22 doubles, 21 home runs. So here's Beef Wellington, as they call him, hitting .260. Two runs, 3 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for the D-backs. Off speed. Castillo way out in front of it. Grounded to Turner in the 2nd inning. Maeda trying to get through the 2nd time around the lineup. 0-1. 0-2. Do you ever take a tennis ball, maybe cut it in half, then you turn it inside out and you scale it? That's the way that pitch looked. You never cut a tennis ball in half, turned it inside out and scaled it? You gotta be kidding. Oh, you're 3 years old. Oh, all right, we'll give you time. Down you go on a fastball. So after sailing one for a strike, he comes back with a hard stop. Down goes Castillo, and Lamb is left at second base. Good break on that pitch. No runs ahead, a man left at the end of 3.5. 2-0 Dodgers. Bottom of the fourth inning, 2-0 favor of the Dodgers. The man who made a wonderful play, and the same man who was fooled on that ball that took off on him, Howie Kendrick, just started off. Kendrick, a deep fly ball to center for an out. Leaping catch on the dead run by Michael Bourne. 0-1 the count to Howie. Oh, and 2. See where Howie is. Tremendous month. 1 ball and 2 strikes. What a job he has done. They put him at second base, his old spot. He's played third, and he's done a terrific job in left field. 2-2. For Dave Roberts, well, it's been a month since Clayton Kershaw was able to pitch. The Dodgers have responded 16-9 over that stretch. The starters hanging around just long enough to get 13 wins of the possible 16. And the bullpen holding the opposition to a 2.7 earned run average. In fact, for Dave Roberts, the best record since June the 27th. That was Clayton's last appearance. Houston, the Dodgers, and Toronto all 16-9. Pittsburgh 15-9. And ball 4 to Howie Kendrick. Well, we told you it's a big difference when Godley is pitching with the bases empty and with men on base. So you have to say, well, he loses some effectiveness pitching out of the stretch. Here's Grandal, struck out in the second inning. We're in the fourth, 2-0 Dodgers. We'll check on that Giant game. That's a strike to Yasmani. 1-0 Giants in the fourth inning. Max Scherzer for Washington. Jeff Samardzija for the Giants. 0-1. And that's going to be a wild pitch. Castro didn't have a chance. So Castillo has to go back and get it. And Kendrick at second base. Pitch way inside. Even Castillo diving at the ball and couldn't catch up to it. So in looking at Godley, that would be his first wild pitch. So Howie Kendrick at second base, nobody out, bottom of the fourth, and the Dodgers leading 2-0. Grandal, Tolles, and Peterson coming up. And that gets away. That one I'm not sure of. The other one pretty obvious. So Kendrick doesn't care whether it's a wild pitch or a pass ball. He's at third. Chip Hale's unhappy. Let's take a look. In the dirt. Normally the official scorer will think, well, if it's in the dirt, it's a wild pitch. Occasionally they will say no. If it was a wild pitch out in front of the plate, you figure you have a chance. But that will be a wild pitch. So a walk, 2 wild pitches, a runner at third, nobody out. The infield is up. Two and 2. Grandal, of course, most left-hand hitters like the ball down. But I'll say one thing after watching him. If you give him a fastball somewhere between the letters of Dodgers and the shoulders, as the players call it, high cheese, he can hit it out of sight. Little pop foul coming over at Lamb. Makes the play. So Grandal unable to pick him up, one away. And now Andrew Tolles coming up.
Number 60, Andrew Tolles.
Tolles followed by Peterson. Goldschmidt coming over to say something, calling Chris Owings to the back of the mound. Whatever that was said, Goldie's going back to his position. And Tolles ready to get in. Infield's up. Kendrick at third, one out, and hold everything now. Chip Hale is going to go out there and make sure they know exactly what he wants. Goldschmidt looked like he was carrying the message only to Owings. Andrew Tolles, tough man to pitch to, runs very well. Oh, you could have a squeeze play with him, or just a slow ground ball. So let's see what happens. One out, fourth inning, 2-0 Dodgers. Tolles checking in with a runner at third. Tolles been at the knees and waist. And a strike, 0-1. Tolles isn't a big man anyway, and by the time he gets finished, he shrinks that strike zone. Down he goes. No balls and one strike. Tolles listed at 5'10", pulls one inside first. The run scores. Andrew is on his way for a double, and he's in there easily. So with the infield up, the ball got between Goldschmidt and first base. Kendrick scores. Dodgers lead 3-0. So a nice bit of clutch hitting by Andrew Tolles. So the double scores Kendrick. Dodgers now leading 3-0. Three runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. No runs, 2 hits for Arizona. Jock Peterson doubled in the second inning. And in the dirt. So a walk followed by consecutive wild pitches. Then the foul ball, the ground ball. So you look at the inning. The only reason Kendrick was at third were the 2 wild pitches. With the infield up, Arizona lost a play by Goldschmidt. He was in no position to handle it. So Chip Hale's muttering, talking to somebody in the dugout how an inning can disintegrate. Tony La Russa is here taking in the ball game, and I'm sure he is very unhappy, not with Chip Hale, but with the performances of some of the D-backs. 2-0 the count. And a strike. Tony La Russa making his notes. I'm sure there are some tough notes going on. Tony, of course, has spent his life in baseball. Chip Hale, fortunate to have Tony as the top boss. 2-1 pitch. Little ground ball. Goldschmidt's going to glove it, feeding his man Godley. So Tolles takes third. And with 2 out, Kenta Maeda coming up.
Kenta Maeda.
Maeda grounded to third in the second inning. 0 for 1. Maeda with a 3-0 lead. He has Tolles down the line from third. 0-1. So a walk, 2 wild pitches with 1 out in the infield up. A ground ball that goes through for a double. And the D-backs give up another to trail 3-0. Remember the last time the Dodgers and the D-backs got together, Arizona won 2 of the 3. Well, former Dodger Jason Worth came up with an RBI single. They're in the 4th inning up north. Nationals and Giants 1-1. Foul ball, 1-2. Giants have been without Hunter Pence, who means so much. Joe Panik, the second baseman, and Matt Duffy at third. They've all been out. Giants made a deal today for Eduardo Nunez from Minnesota, and Nunez playing third base for the injured Matt Duffy. Panik is in the lineup tonight. Hunter will be in the lineup tomorrow afternoon. And the ball hit in the air and caught in left field. Little trouble out there by Tomas. So the Dodgers get 1 and leave 1. And at the end of 4, 3-0 Dodgers. Is brought to you by your Southern California Toyota dealers. Toyota's summer drive sales event is going on now, where you can save big on the all-new Prius. Well, you're looking at the aerial view of the Coliseum. Way back in 1959, the World Series between the Dodgers and the Chicago White Sox. The attendance for that game, 92,706. But of course, you may or may not remember when Frank McCourt owned the Dodgers, he wanted to somehow hold the record for the biggest crowd to ever see a regular baseball game. The Red Sox were here, and they played in the Coliseum with 115,300. Back about, what, 2008, huh? That's a crowd. Well, 92 is big, and the Dodgers also had a series where each game was about 93,000 in the Coliseum. 1 ball and no strikes the count to David Peralta. Rick Ankiel couldn't quite do it. Came close. He was a pitcher. Things went sour. Tried to play the outfield. Never quite put it together. Peralta has succeeded in doing that. David, a good hitter, would not give up after he could not make it as a pitcher. Foul ball. Talk about not giving up. I mean, he signed with the Rio Grande Valley White Wings of the North American League. And he had to go 1,400 miles to join the team. So what did he do? He worked at McDonald's for a month, saved up the money, rented a car, drove over to join his new team and hit .392. What a great story. David Peralta. He had his first base hit, and you just saw him kiss his bat. A lot of guys do that. His first major league hit came June 1st, 2014, and he has that play on his iPad. And he looks at it. I don't know if he does it all the time, but there was a time every night going to bed, he'd look at the iPad. Ground ball to Gonzalez, makes the tag while on the bag, and we have one away. That's not a bad idea. Look at your iPad and study your first hit. The Philadelphia Phillies had an outfielder. Since I wasn't there and didn't see it, I'm not going to mention his name, but his roommates say that he believed in voodoo, the outfielder, and he had a little voodoo doll, and he would stand in the hotel holding it up to the window at the moonlight and stick pins. And maybe he wanted the pitcher to have a bad arm, so he'd stick the pins. Yeah, I swear. Honest. My arm's starting to feel a little sore right now. 0-1. Yasmani Tomas struck out in the second inning. No balls and one strike. 1-1. So for Maeda, he is finishing up the second time around. As we have mentioned a couple of times, third time around might be trouble. He's made 69 pitches. So let's say 70 pitches in 5 innings. That'd be okay. 14 pitch an inning. That's a strike. 1-2. Dodgers got 2 in the second, picked up a gift in the fourth. Set up on a couple of wild pitches. Jock Peterson doubled in 2. Andrew Toles doubled in 1. And that's it. Fastball. It's slicing to Toles. Room service. 2 down. And the batter now, Chris Owings.
Number 16, Chris Owings.
The D-backs in last place in the West, 17 games back of the Giants, 18 games under 500 at home, exactly 500 on the road. The Roberts sitting in the high chair. Chip Hale looking up. Ball 1. And watching Maeda, as we mentioned earlier, in fact, all you do is look at him and you know he's not a big man, not by any means. That's whack. What a stop by Turner. Yeah. Justin Turner with those remarkable big league reactions, nails a hit and turns it into an out. Down go the D-backs, and at the end of 4.5, 3-0 Dodgers. Dodgers, and look at all the energy and all those cute kids. In fact, Miss Hollywood with her sunglasses, her hair done up well. That's a costume for Star Wars. And behind her, some giggly youngsters having a ball at the ballpark. Hope you bring your kids out here. If we can spot them, we sure love to see them. Well, here's Utley. Utley, Seager, and Turner in that order. Dodgers lead 3-0. Hard ground ball, but the middleman is on it. That's Segura. And we have one out here in the 5th inning. Say, get a Howie Kendrick bobblehead. That'll be Tuesday, August 9th. Dodgers and Phillies. Bobbleheads from Kendrick will be available to the first 40,000 fans in attendance, courtesy of our old pals, Farmer John. So for tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions. One away. Corey Seager grounded to short, broke his bat on a foul ball, almost frightened Godley. Then got a new bat and lined a single to left. One ball and no strikes. Pulled an outside pitch. He doesn't usually do that. That's a ball that normally Corey will take the other way. And you try to pull a pitch away, it doesn't make any difference how big you are, how strong you are. You're not going to hit it very hard. So Seager going to school and excelling, but he grounds out. We have 2 down, and here comes Justin Turner. Turner twice flied to right field, hitting .271, made the dazzling play, and that ball hit by Chris Owings. If you look at the helmet of Justin Turner, the LA, the lettering in the front of the crown, has come off. That's what we're talking about. It's missing. I don't know if it came off on one of his diving plays or not, but it's gone. He is playing under an assumed hat. In there. 1-1. Well, in the 6th inning, that's when Kenta Maeda begins to wade in the deeper water. He'll have the pitcher, but then it will be the 3rd time around. That's a ground ball to Segura. And that'll do it for Turner. That'll do it for the Dodgers. And at the end of a quick 5, 3-0 Dodgers. 1996, Tommy Lasorda retired. He had taken over for Walter Alston in September of 1976, so he was there 20 years as the manager. He won 1,599 games, and I'm sure you know Tommy then later on entered the Hall of Fame. Let's go back to this one. Oh, and 1 the count. Godley followed by Segura and then Bourne. 3-0 Dodgers. Little chopper. Turner is on it. Okay, 1 down in the 6th inning. And of course, following his retirement, Lasorda and his pal Peter O'Malley announcing to the world that he'd had it. Then of course he wasn't finished, not by a long shot. Who will ever forget Lasorda charging out of the dugout in 1988, the home run by Kirk Gibson. You could call Lasorda different kinds of titles as a manager, but I think everybody believes the #1 strength, not that he was just sitting there as a great tactician, he was a great motivator. That'll be 2 down. So in the 6th inning for Maeda, it begins. There's a, I can't say a look-alike, but that's a statue of Tommy. That youngster looking up at that figure with the big smile, and I'm sure Mom trying to explain to him. And appropriately enough, Tommy's trattoria. Tommy and food, they just go together. No pitch. So Segura, who's known for going after the first pitch, hit that pop fly to Utley. So now here goes Maeda in the deep water. Second time around for Bourne, Goldschmidt, Lamb, etc. They're in the 5th inning up north. Nationals 1, Giants 1. Bourne has made 2 wonderful plays defensively, but he is 0 for 2 at the bat. Breaking ball, strike. 77 pitches. Maeda has pitched in a game where he made 100 pitches 5 times this year. Pitch out of the zone. Bourne went after it anyway. 0-2. Of course, for Bourne, he's got to get on base to give Goldschmidt a chance. Wouldn't bite for that pitch up this time. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Dodgers scored 2 in the 2nd. Peterson doubled in 2. Added another on a walk and a couple of wild pitches in the 4th, and a double by Andrew Toles. Two and 2. Two down, 6th inning, 3-0 Dodgers. And we sure have an eye or two on that game up north, 1-1. And down goes Bourne. He's 0 for 3. The inning's over at 7 in a row retired since Lamb's double. And at the end of 5.5 innings, 3-0 Dodgers. action going on. Number one, Giants banged up. They've lost 10 of 12. Dodgers one game above 500. The hottest team since the All-Star game, the Colorado Rockies, 11-4. Of course, at the same time, they're still 9 games back of the Giants, who are coming back slowly but surely. Case in point for Dave Roberts. Nationals lead the Giants 2-1 in the 5th inning. Then Revere, a base hit. A leaping catch on the ball hit by Adrian Gonzalez. Great play by Gene Segura. Wow. So Segura takes a base hit away from Adrian. And we have one out here in the 6th inning. Great play. Boy, they are remarkable athletes. Perfect timing, full extension, somersault, and hold on to it. So one out. Here's Howie Kendrick. Fly to center, walked, and scored a run. Ball one. So the way things are right now, we tell you because of Ben Revere's single, the Nationals are leading the Giants 2-1. Just imagine if the Giants lose and the Dodgers win, the Giant lead will be 1 game. 1. You have to go back to May the 18th when the Dodgers were a game and a half behind the Giants. One and one. 1-2. Zachary Thomas Godley out of Bamberg, South Carolina. Down he goes. Before the game, we understood he has a lot of movement on his pitches. And they were certainly moving then.
Pitcher, Yasmani Grandal.
So 2 down and Grandal coming up. Three strikeouts for Godley. Maeda has 5. Ball one. Grandal struck out and fouled out. Daniel Murphy, who absolutely killed the Dodgers when he played with the Mets in the playoffs, moves on to the Washington Nationals. He's having a tremendous year, and Murphy just triple to knock in a run. And the Nationals lead the Giants now 3-1 in the 5th inning. Giants are hoping that they'll get 3 healthy players back. Panic in the lineup tonight. Hence will be in the lineup tomorrow. And they're hoping Duffy will be able to get back soon. Meanwhile, floundering. Down goes Grandal. Another nice inning for Godley. So he's faced 8 in a row now. And at the end of 6, 3-0 Dodgers. Garden Gnome at the Dodger game Sunday, August 14, Dodgers and Pirates. It'll start at 1:10. Magic Gnomes are available to the first 40,000 fans in attendance, courtesy of Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. I assume you're aware of a couple of deals made so far. Andrew Kashner went to Florida in a huge deal with the San Diego Padres. Miami got involved. They acquired Andrew Kashner and Colin Reyes from San Diego. Paul Goldschmidt 1 for 2, hitting .299. Earlier we mentioned Eduardo Nunez, infielder with Minnesota, was picked up by the Giants. Giants gave up a pitching prospect, Adalberto Mejia. That's a strike, 1-2. For Maeda, so far so good. He made 81 pitches in 6 innings. Godley made 84 pitches in 6 innings. So we're in the 7th. 3-0 Dodgers. One and two. Goldsmith is the big butter and egg man. He delivers. He's knocked in 50 runs. He's always swinging 2-0 and very aggressive like that. A bullet just off the glove of Corey Seager. So it'll be a line drive base hit for Goldsmith. He's 2 for 3.
Third baseman Jake Lamb.
Jake Lamb coming up. Fly to left, double to left, and the Dodgers now watching Maeda, and they know these are the deep waters, so immediately they'll get somebody up in the bullpen. Seager came close but couldn't come up with it. Adam Liebertor, who's been out of action with a sore knee and has been brilliant. Remember, he had 28 scoreless appearances. So they're backing up Maeda. You would have to believe that this will be the inning. He either makes it or he comes out. So here's Lamb. Strike. 0-1. Seager all alone on the left side. Utley, Turner, and Gonzalez with Turner the middleman. 0-1 to Jake Lamb. And he hits one to right, but Tolles is there. And where in the world? Goldie went halfway and then came back. So Lamb, a soft fly ball to right field, 1 down.
Catcher Wellington Castillo.
Wellington Castillo coming up, grounded to third and struck out. Castillo with 11 home runs. Dodger infield back to normal. Fastball got the inside corner. Castillo, I don't think, agrees. 0-1. Liebertor is now joined by Joe Blanton. David Peralta, hitting behind Castillo, is a left-handed hitter. In the dirt. 1 ball and 1 strike. Goldschmidt, as we mentioned earlier, as big as he is and all of his prowess, home runs and all the other stuff, he has stolen 14 out of 18. Arizona has gotten one man to second base. That was Lamb, who doubled with 2 out in the 4th inning. Check swing. They look. No swing. Does Bill Miller. Two and one to Wellington Castilla. David Peralta on deck. We mentioned earlier that Clayton Kershaw was on the railing rooting for his team. We wondered where Zach Greinke is, and he's rehabbing somewhere, but not here. A.J. Ellis, Brandon McCarthy, Brett Anderson, and Clayton Kershaw all huddling in one corner. Pitchers hang out with pitchers, and if they're going to hang out with anybody else, it would be a catcher. People always ask me, what was the difference between Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale, besides left-handed and right-handed? When the Dodgers were on the road and we had a night off, or at least after an afternoon game, Sandy Koufax would go to dinner with either a backup catcher or a backup infielder. Just the two of them. They'd go quietly and have dinner. Don Drysdale, a Pied Piper. When Don went out, half a dozen of the club went with him. And that's going to go to the app. There's nobody there. Cole's trying to run it to the wall and overruns it. It's a long trek for Goldschmidt, but he is going to score. And the throw goes to third, keeping Castillo at second. So the Dodger lead is 3-1 as Wellington Castillo doubles into right center. This is the tough time for Maeda. Curveball and banged into the gap. So now David Peralta, a left-hand batter, coming up. Libator was warming up in the pen, though we will see if Roberts brings in the left-hander. Patch Maeda on the back. The Dodgers do the same. So Canada comes out. He's allowed 1 run, only 4 hits, but he did make 93 pitches, and for him, that's about the time to come out. Because again, in the big leagues in Japan, he pitched every 6 days. It's a lot different over here. We'll be right back.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Now pitching for the Dodgers, number 36, Adam Libator.
Brought to you by Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at choosenissan.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better. Kenta Maeda gets into the 7th inning, and you were forewarned. So was he. The pattern is third time around against a team, he starts to run out of gut. And here in the 7th inning, he gave up a single and a double. He did get an out. He made a total of 93 pitches and only 1 run. He is also charged, of course, with Castillo out there at second base. So Adam Liberatore coming in and trying to see if he can get some outs. Liberatore had been absolutely brilliant until his left knee balked. So he's rested, and we'll see how he goes tonight. Brandon Drury is now the batter. So Peralta will not be allowed to face a left-hand pitcher, especially since he just came off the DL. Drury hitting .263. 1 ball and no strikes. Fouled away. Brandon Drury out of Grants Pass, Oregon, 6'1", 215. He'll be 24 near the end of August. Still lives in Grants Pass. Plays third, second, short. Had one big year at Visalia where he hit 19 home runs, but he is not that kind of a hitter. 1-1. 1-2. Drury was a 13th round pick back in 2010. He was in the Braves organization in 2012 and traded to the D-backs in January of 2014. 1-2. Drury 6'1", 215. Fastball away. Earlier we mentioned about the fact that what a shame we don't see Kershaw versus Greinke. We see Kershaw, but Greinke isn't here. He was out rehabbing, and the report on Greinke: 3 innings, 4 hits, 1 run not earned, no walks, 5 strikeouts. In the Arizona bullpen, Daniel Hudson, a right-hander, begins to warm up. There's Daniel. Drury trying to pick up Castillo. Two balls and 2 strikes. As an infielder, Drury got some help, big help. And that would be Troy Tulowitzki. He used to work out with Troy a lot. And as a member of Arizona now, he tries to watch Paul Goldschmidt as much as possible, watching his routine to get ready. All right, Drury back up. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Castillo at second, 3-1 Dodgers. Fastball, 3-2. Yasmani Tomas on deck. Remember the thing about Tomas: 14 of his home runs on the road. 3-2. And ball 4. So all of a sudden the tying runs are aboard. Liberatore gives up a walk. First one, Maeda did not give up a walk. So now Dave Roberts is going to take Liberatore out of there. Pretty hard being out of the lineup, out of the game with a sore knee. Calling in, you go 3-2 and walk. So they go to the bench again. Blanton has been throwing, and we'll be back. here with Arizona. Tomorrow a 6:10 p.m. game, and then Sunday at 1. And tomorrow, as the Dodgers trying to hope that the Giants will slip. And by the way, the Giants are hurting right now. They're trailing 4-1 in the 6th inning. So the Nationals giving San Francisco a bad time. Dodgers in a fortunate bit of scheduling, playing the last place D-backs. However, the D-backs have played the Dodgers tough. 9 games. Dodgers have won 5. So Joe Blanton now facing Yasmani Tomas, and remember, 14 of his 17 home runs hit on the road. And he has Castillo and Drury out on the lines with 1 out. 0-1 the count. So Tomas up there in a spot they want him to be in. 1 swing and he gets him in front. Oh, and 2 the count. So Blanton goes right after him. Last year, Tomas had 19 doubles. This year he's going the other way, 17 home runs. 1 out, 2 on, 0-2. And that's probably hit in the air to shallow left. Kendrick can't make a play. He drops the ball but has no play anyway, and the bases are loaded. So Kendrick playing back against a power hitter, unable to catch up to a fly ball single. So the bases are loaded, and the shortstop, Chris Owings, is due up. Owings grounded out, and last time up in the 5th inning hit a shot. Justin Turner made a marvelous play to get him. So bases loaded, 1 out. You have Castillo at 3rd, Drury at 2nd, Tomas at 1st, and Chris Owings at the plate. So Kenta Maeda can still win. He can't lose. And ball 1. Blanton. And that's a pitfall for a pitcher. You come in late in the game, and there have been 3 other pitchers preceding you. The landing area sometimes becomes a little hole, and he actually stepped in it. Doesn't look like much, but when you're coming down from the top of the mound, basically on one leg, and then you land in a treacherous area. So 1 ball and no strikes. Looked like a slider up. 2-0. So in the inning, Goldschmidt singled, Lamb flied out. Castillo doubled home Goldschmidt. Peralta gave way to Drury to bat, and Liberatore walked him. Tomas got a base hit to load him up. Fastball, 2-1. Ricky Weeks is out on deck. He would bat for Godley. Oh, there's Ricky. See a man with his head in his hands, and you wonder, in this kind of a spot, who's he worrying about? Owings appears to be pressing, chasing a couple. Blanton taking advantage, good sliders, and it's a 2-ball, 2-strike count. Bases loaded. Castillo, Drury, Tomas. Fouled away. So for the moment, at least, the battle comes down between Blanton and Owings. But 1 more round to go in Ricky Weeks. Two and 2. Fastball at 92. Christopher Owings came up to the Diamondbacks 2013. He was a first-round pick at a high school in South Carolina back in 2009. Last year, he had 4 home runs, and for a guy with only 4 home runs, he struck out 144 times. So he's struggling with that. 2-2. And he bangs it to right center field. That's going to drop for a hit. 1 run scores. Everybody else moves up 90 feet. And that'll be that. It's 3-2 now in favor of the Dodgers. And Ricky Weeks will be coming up. So the 2 runs, Goldschmidt scored, Castillo scored. Those 2 runs are charged to Maeda. However, the bases are still loaded with 1 out. So Owings delivers, fly ball single to right. And now Ricky Weeks will be coming up. Weeks hitting .223. Meanwhile, Mike Butcher talking to Godley about his game that he pitched. Ricky Weeks coming up. Began playing baseball when he was about 5 years old. He was born in Daytona Beach, lives in Altamonte Springs. He's only 5'10", but he carries 220 pounds. Basically a second baseman. He'll be 34 years old in September and had some magical years with the Milwaukee Brewers. He and Prince Fielder were very close. 0-1. So for Maeda, not a thing he can do but sit and watch. Drury, Tomas, and Owings are out there. One ball and 1 strike. So in the inning, Goldschmidt single to left. Lamb flied to right, but Castillo doubled in Goldschmidt. That was all for Maeda. Liberatore came in, made 6 pitches, and walked the pinch hitter Drury, so he came out. Blanton has given up 2 singles to Tomas and Owings. And of course, the starting pitcher, Godley, could almost steal a win. I mean, he's still in there. Two and 1 to count to Ricky Weeks. Drury, Tomas, Owings all taking the lead with 1 out. Fastball sinks down and away. Ball 3. The leadoff man, Gene Segura, and what a tough hombre he is, out on deck. 3-1. With the bases loaded, 1 out. Dodgers clinging to a 3-2 lead. And ball 4 to force in the tying run. So Weeks goes to first. Owings goes to second. Tomas moves to third. And Drury brings in the run. So for Godley, no matter what, he's off the hook. He will have nothing to do with it, or he could steal a win. And for Maeda now, he's done sitting helplessly to see that the D-Backs have the lead. 3-3, and now Segura with the bases loaded, struck out, robbed of a hit in left field by Kendrick, and popped out, and that's ball 1. Gene Segura, a tremendous ball player. Little meeting on the mound to try and settle things down. So Blanton is struggling, 2 singles and a walk. Segura does not have a grand slam. Goldschmidt and now dying quietly in the corner. Zach Godley. Honeycutt going out to the mound trying to solve a problem. Of course, you're not looking at a kid pitcher when you're out there talking to Blandon. Luis Avilan and Pedro Baez are now up in the Dodger bullpen. For the Dodgers, hanging in the air for over 26 minutes so far. It's a 3-run inning and the game is tied. Arizona 3 runs, 6 hits, and the Dodgers 3 runs, 4 hits. Blanton has been pitching professionally since 2002. And Segura takes a strike, 1-1. Struck out on a nice catch by Kendrick and popped up. One and two. All right, Blandon ready. 1-2 the count to Ricky Weeks. Fouled away, and he just did get a piece of that one. Segura, in looking at his numbers, has struck out 62 times in a good 460 plate appearances. So either way you look at it, he's tough, and he did strike out his first at bat. 1-2 the count. Segura from the Dominican, 5'11", 175. Hit 2 home runs in a game, one a conventional home run, and the other an inside the park. And those were his first 2 at-bats in a game. And fouled it off again. Segura's best year average-wise when he was with the Brewers back in 2013. He hit .294. Played for the Angels in 1 game, 2012. Another foul ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Waiting on deck, Michael Bourne, and then Paul Goldschmidt. One ball and 2 strikes. Fastball. So everything going up there. Segura is hacking and fouling them off. To repeat, Tomas at third, Owings at second, Weeks at first, and with 1 out, Segura at the plate. 3 runs, 6 hits for Arizona, 3 runs, 4 hits for the Dodgers. Slider got him swinging. So Blandon takes care of a very tough hombre with a hard slider down and away.
Fielder number 1, Michael Bourne.
And Michael Bourne, who is 0 for 3 coming up. So that was a big battle won by Blandon. Now let's see. Dave Roberts coming back out. Bourne is a left-hand batter. So we'll see as Roberts going back to bring in the left-hander. Luis Avilan, the left-hander, is coming through the gate. Blandon goes out, and we'll be back.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Now pitching for
to get Michael Bourne and keep the bases loaded. Michael Bourne, the left-hand batter out of Texas, was originally a 4th-round pick by the Phillies in 2003. He grew up where his dad was coaching him and one other teammate. That other teammate was Carl Crawford, who of course played for Tampa Bay and for the Dodgers. They were highly competitive, and it was good for both of them. So here is Bourne hitting left-handed against Luis Avilan. Tomas, Owings, and Weeks are all out there. 2 down, 3-3, 7th inning. The Nationals are beating the Giants 4-1 the last we heard. Big breaking ball. Ball 1. Bourne is 5'11", about 180. He'll be 34 a couple of days after Christmas. And that dropped low. Ball 2. So for Kenta Maeda, it's just disappearing like a snowman in June. Meanwhile, for Godley, he has a shot to pick up a win. 2-0. Big curveball. 2-1 to count to Michael Bourne. Bourne, good basketball player and baseball player in high school. Fastball fouled away. 2-2. So it's been Maeda, then Libator, Blanton, and Avilan. Maeda had pitched 6 innings, was leading 3-0, and then things started to go south on him. He was charged with 2 runs. Now he's not responsible. Two and two out, bases loaded. Off speed, little dribbler, smothered, but there's nobody at first base. The run scores, and Arizona leads 4-3. So Godley has a shot now to pick up a win. One of those plays, the ball smothered by Avilan, but Gonzalez is running over to try and field it, and when Avilan smothers it, there's no chance for Utley to get there. And scoring from third is Tomas. It will go as an infield single to Avilan, and everybody moves up. So Tomas brings in the run. Owings goes to third. Weeks goes to second. And Bourne safe at first with a run batted in. Dodgers are going to make a double switch. First of all, Howie Kendrick is going to come out, and the pitcher will hit in his spot. Scott Van Slyke will bat 9th. So we're waiting for the Dodgers to ring the bell. Pedro Baez coming in on the run. We'll be back. Dodger bullpen trying to put out the fire. Paul Goldschmidt will be the hitter. Now they have faced each other 6 times. Goldschmidt is not only 0 for 6. Baez has struck him out 4 of the 6 at-bats. So this will be a big confrontation. Arizona, for the first time, having scored 4 in the inning, lead 4-3. Giants are losing 4-1. So here's Goldie hitting .298, 46 runs batted in, toughest hitter in the league here at Dodger Stadium among all active players. Roberto Clemente hit a little bit better. So here's Goldie. Oh, and 1. Owings is at third, Weeks at second, and Bourne at first. For Goldschmidt, he has 3 career grand slams. So Baez trying to blow him away and get out of the inning. Goldschmidt started the inning with a single to left. 0-2. Baez, as usual, throwing very hard. To repeat, Owings, Weeks, and Bourne out on the lines. 4-3 Arizona. And line drive into the left field corner. In comes Owings. Here comes Weeks. Going to third is Bourne. Here comes a throw by Seager, and he scores. The ball backed up by Baez. And so finally, Paul Goldschmidt drives in some runs against Baez, driving in 3, and it is 7-3 in favor of Arizona. The first hit that Goldschmidt had, and boy, what a time to come up with it. So we'll see, did Goldie get a double and go to and stop at second base with 3 runs batted in. No chance for Van Slyke to catch the ball. They did carry him back to him. So for Paul Goldschmidt, on a no ball 2-strike count, that's the killer. He now has 68 runs batted in, his 21st double. He is 2 for 2 in the inning. So far, the Dodger relievers have made 50 pitches here in the inning. 7-3. Wait till that goes up in the scoreboard in AT&T Park. So here's Jake Lamb. They're not out of the woods yet. And he hits a fly ball to right. Tolles is there. Big inning. 11 men come to the plate, and a whole bunch of them score a 7. Godley now has a chance to win, and it's 7-3 Arizona. Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers. And by Carl's Jr., introducing the Bacon Three-Way Burger only at Carl's Jr. Arizona rolls a 7 to take a 7-3 lead. Drury, who came in as a pinch hitter, he'll stay in for Peralta and play left field. Tomas, who had been in left field, goes to right. And Daniel Hudson is the new pitcher, trying to hold on to this one and give it to the starting pitcher, Godley. And ball one. Andrew Toles has walked and doubled. Paul Goldschmidt was 0 for 6. He had struck out 4 of the 6 at-bats. The count was 0-2, and he doubles in 3. 1-1 the count. So you can just keep a good man down so long, and as he has done for years, he always seems to come up with that big hit, especially against the Dodgers and especially here. That's a strike, 1-2. Daniel Claiborne Hudson facing Andrew Toles. Dan Hudson had Tommy John twice. Fastball, little roller to the hole, and by the diving Segura. So Toles hits a seeing eye ground ball base hit, and Segura shaking himself up, diving at the ball. So Toles bidding for a perfect night, has walked, singled, and doubled. Here comes Segura. Well, Segura is up on his feet now, but he's still not quite ready. Might have knocked the wind out of himself. So Hudson gives up the ground ball single. Segura holding his hand on his chest a moment ago, or even down at the stomach, so I think that's what he might have done.
Center fielder number 31, Jock Peterson.
So 7th inning after Godley went 6. Jock Peterson now facing Hudson. Peterson double to left to drive in 2, grounded to first. 1 for 2, hitting .236. Dodgers down by 4 after leading by 3. Ball 1. Peterson facing Hudson. Hudson with a record of 1-2. A high earned run average over 6. One ball and no strikes. Fastball missed. 2-0. Hudson is from Lynchburg, Virginia. Lives over in Chandler, Arizona. 6'3", 225. 29 years old. Originally signed by the White Sox out of Old Dominion University, and that was back in 2008. Came to the D-backs 2010, and of course 2 Tommy John surgeries have really slowed him down. Foul back. Hudson worked a lot last year, 64 games. Two and one. Hudson with a fastball, slider, and slow curve. Arizona had former Dodger pitcher Edwin Jackson they sent Ed to the White Sox, and that's how they got Hudson. And a drive into right center field, and that's going to be clearing the wall, and that makes it 7-5 in favor of Arizona. Just a line drive. Bourne started to go back like he might have a play, but the ball just stayed up and went out. Boy, that ball just jumped off Peterson's bat. So Jock Peterson breathing some life back in the game. His 14th home run, 2 more RBIs. 7-5 Arizona. For Jock Peterson, his last home run prior to tonight was against Washington, June the 20th. And a strike now to Van Slyke. So Hudson looks like he needs help, and they've got their bullpen going. 4 RBIs for Jock Peterson. 7-5 Arizona. The Dodgers playing the last place team in the division. Dodgers have won 5 of the 9 meetings. Arizona won 2 of the last 3. Peterson with 4 RBIs tonight. One ball and 1 strike. Little foul ball. Randall Delgado, the right-hander. Zach Curtis, the left-hander, now getting up in the bullpen. As we mentioned, even though it was 7-3, you're bringing in a relief pitcher who has an earned run average over 6. 1-2 the count. And missed. 2-2. Ground foul. Van Slyke very aggressive going after that pitch. He just couldn't wait. So he went down, tried to get it. The home run by Jock Peterson is the 5th home run that Hudson has allowed. 5 home runs in 37 innings. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Missed inside, so he goes all the way. Well, certainly nothing wrong with an arm that can throw 97. Utley on deck. Nobody out. Toll single. Peterson a line drive home run. 3-2 the count to Van Slyke. And he walked him. So we will see about the patience of Skip Hale. It has run out. So single, home run, walk, and Hudson's done. In there very briefly. 2 hits, 2 runs plus a walk. Hudson goes out, and we'll be back. Here in the 7th inning, Zachary Aaron Curtis takes over. First thing about Curtis, you notice, for a big league pitcher, he is a long way from being what looks like a big league pitcher, normally about 6'1" and then up. He's 5'9", about 180. From Tennessee, went to Middle Tennessee State, and he was a 6th round pick just 2 years ago. 24 years old, and last year he was in 17 games. So Zachary Aaron Curtis facing Chase Utley. Utley coming up with Van Slyke at first. So all of a sudden, Utley is the possible tying run at first base. Corey Seager is on deck. So the Dodgers led 3-0. The sky fell on them in the 7th. 7 runs scored by Arizona, and a high drive to right field, and she is gone. And we have a 7-7 tie. Well, as they say, there are a lot of reasons why a team is last, and there's a lot of reasons why a team is very much a contender. The last place club might get a big lead and then somehow give it away, and the contending team always finds a way to battle back. So we're 7-7 in the 7th, and here's Seager. Right. Seager grounded to short, single to left, and grounded out. Chase Utley coming up and hitting the first pitch for his 7th home run, 32 runs batted in. And that's going to be hit to the gap. There's nobody there. It'll go to the wall. Bourne over to pick it up. Seager standing at second with a no-out double. Take a look now at Utley, the first pitch around at the knees, and no doubt about it. So you talk about relief. They bring in Hudson, and Hudson gives up a single and a home run and a walk. So they bring in Utley, who gives up a home run and a double. And Godley, who was thinking I might have a win when it was 7-3, sees it evaporate. And Hale making another painful walk to the mound. It's a tough job. You know the kids are trying, and they're just not effective. And now Seager standing at second base, representing a go-ahead run. We'll be back. Poor Tony La Russa, who probably threw his book out of the... Gee. 7-3. First it was Jock Peterson getting a pitch below the knees. It's a line drive home run into the bleachers with a man aboard. And then a mile-high fly ball home run off the bat of Chase Utley with a man aboard. The Dodgers pick up 4. It would make you dizzy. They got him so fast to tie it up. So 7-7. Randall Delgado coming in. Delgado from Panama, originally signed by the Braves, trying to get an out. Remember, Messrs. Hudson and Curtis could not get an out, each giving up 2 runs. And ball 1. What a night for all of the young Arizona pitchers. And of course, stunned is Curtis. Stunned was Hudson. And now reeling is Godley, who thought he had a win, leading 7-3, and it has disappeared. 1-1 on the foul ball, hitting the mask of Castillo. So Pedro Baez, who gave up that no ball 2 strike, big double that drove in 3, is off the hook for the moment. Look at that. 3-0 Dodgers, 7-3 D-backs, 7-7. Totals identical. Dodgers, Maeda, Libator, Blanton, Avilan, and Baez. Godley, Hudson, Curtis, and Delgado. The long and the short of it, Curtis followed by Delgado. Curtis 5'9", Delgado is 6'3". High strike. Hudson now has a new helmet, or at least he has one. Yeah, that has to be a brand new helmet with the LA, which came off the battered noggin that he was wearing. 1-2. Chasing one and lucky to get a piece of it. Justin still there. Delgado, no trick pitches, fastball, curve, changeup. Fastball occasionally up to 97. Big chopper to shortstop. Owens makes the play. Seager can't advance. So 1 out. Adrian Gonzalez coming up.
First baseman number 23, Adrian Gonzalez.
Delgado was in a kind of an amazing spot. If you go back to last year in April, he didn't know what it was, but something fell out of the sky and it landed on the mound just as he was making a pitch to Buster Posey in the 12th inning of a tough game. So everybody went to the mound to find out what in the heck came down out of the sky. It was a flying chicken tender, apparently had been dropped by a seagull. Yasiel Puig makes an appearance as a pinch hitter as they plan to walk Gonzalez. So Puig will be batting for Baez. So the Dodgers breezing along, led 3-0. Arizona climbed all over them for 7, and the Dodgers rebounded with 4 of their own to tie it up. So Delgado gives up the walk. Seager standing at second with his double, 1 out. And Yasiel Puig, who's been out with the tightness in the hamstring, coming up. The crowd now spotting Puig, and as they always do, a lot of murmuring, a lot of talking. Against Arizona, Puig is hitting .346 against the lead .255, and a big meeting at the mound. Mike Butcher, the pitching coach, is out there. You may remember Mike when he was with the Angels. So whether it's a flying chicken tender or a comebacker to the mound, Delgado has seen it all. And Puig waiting to come up.
It's hitter number 66, Yasiel Puig.
So Puig spinning that bat around like a baton, looking for a band, coming up to the plate. Puig batting for Baez, who was in Kendrick's spot if you'd been with us during the game. 7-7 in the 7th. First thing I do when Puig comes up, I look at his shoes. And it looks like he's back to orthodox shoes. No drawings, no pictures, just shoes. Ball one. Remember, Yasiel has red, white, and blue, but they'll let him get away with those, I assume. There is a big deal about playing in uniform, and he got in trouble with his previous shoes. If he wore them again, he'd be heavily fined. 1 ball and no strike. And ball 2 on deck. Yasmani Grandal. The home run duo, Utley, Peterson on the rail. 2 balls and no strikes. High fly ball, it's playable. Under it is Bourne. Seager tags up, and he is heading for third, and he will make it. So if nothing else, Puig got a man over to third, and the batter will be Grandal.
Catcher number 9, Yasmani Grandal.
Grandal struck out, fouled out, struck out again. All those at-bats were against the starter, Godley. Godley was charged with 3, Hudson charged with 2, Curtis charged with 2. Ball game tied up, and Delgado trying to finally get the club out of the inning. 7-7 in the 7th with 2 out. Runners at first and third. Off speed for a strike. Check swing. Delgado has a problem. Well, he's not the only one who has the problem. His catcher, Wellington Castillo, has. With a runner at third, Delgado has 5 wild pitches. 0-1. 1-1. Delgado came up to the Braves for a couple of years, then with the Diamondbacks last couple. Gonzalez and Seager at the corners, 2 out, and a 1-1 count to Grandal. In the dirt. New ball put in play, 2-1 to count. On deck behind Grandal is Andrew Toles, the right fielder. Two balls, one strike. And there's nobody there. It's going to go through. Seager will score. On his way to third easily is Adrian Gonzalez. And the Dodgers, after all this give and take, lead 8-7. So when Chip Hale has a headache and looks for relief, just more pain. The way the infield was set up, no one had a play on that ground ball up the middle. So a base hit, run batted in. Seager carries it home. The run is charged to Delgado. Seager's run was actually charged to Curtis. So it is 8-7 in favor of the Dodgers. Here's Toles, who started off the inning with a single to right. Strike. So Paul Goldschmidt led off the top of the seventh and had a single and a double in the inning. Toles led off the bottom of the seventh with a base hit, and he's got a second at bat. Toles at first, going after a pitch in the dirt. He was aboard when Peterson hit the big home run. Crowd loving it. 3-0 Dodgers, 7-3 Arizona, 8-7 Dodgers. 0-2. There goes the runner. The pitch is low, a fake, and that's about all. So Yasmani Grandal steals the base. Runners at second and third with 2 out. Grandal, his first stolen base. One and two. Fouled away upstairs. Still 1-2. Seventh inning, a ball game all in itself. Dodgers had to use, after Maeda, Libator, Blanton, Avilan, and Baez just to get the outs in the top of the seventh. And good hard breaking ball to take care of Toles, and that finally is the inning. Couple of big home runs by the Dodgers. First of all, Adrian Peterson, Jock had already doubled and then came up to clear the center field barrier with a line drive. And then Ugley came up and homered with a man aboard to tie up the game. And the Dodgers took it from there to take an 8-7 lead. who pinch hit for Pedro Baez, stays in the spot originally occupied by Howie Kendrick. And the Dodgers dip into the bullpen now and bring up Lewis Coleman. Coleman 1-1, trying to get some outs in the 8th inning. Wellington Castillo followed by Drury and then Tomas. By the way, you think this is a wild game? In San Francisco, in the bottom of the 8th inning, the Giants were trailing 4-1, and they had the bases loaded and nobody out. I don't know other particulars as to who, what, where, or when, but there was a line drive caught by the first baseman for Washington. He stepped on the bag for 2 out, fired across to third, and got the runner there. A triple play to stun the Giants in the bottom of the 8th. Of course, this crowd has really been on a ride, and it's a big crowd. 50,000, 966. Broken bat, little fly ball. Peterson can't get it. So Castillo breaks his bat and singles to center, and that'll bring up Brandon Drury. MLB TV Premium, that's the #1 live streaming sports service, and it delivers everything you've come to expect and more. Watch every out-of-market game live in HD on over 400 supported devices. Live baseball. Visit MLB TV for details. The report on that triple play: Brandon Crawford hit a line drive to Ryan Zimmerman. The first baseman stepped on the bag. That's 2. Fired across to third and got the third. Triple play. That was the bottom of the 8th. Nationals now leading and hitting in the 9th inning 4-1. So the Dodgers, from the looks of things, have a golden opportunity to get to within 1. Despite being down 7-3. Castillo with a single and a double over at first. Drury batted for Peralta and walked. 2-0. And ball 3. Brandon S. Drury. And a strike, 3-1. Dodgers using Maeda, Liberatore, Blanton, Avilan, Baez, Coleman, and Kenley Jansen beginning to warm up. Three and 1 to Drury. Tomas on deck. Ground ball wide to third. Turner to Utley. Double play to Gonzalez. So Turner and Utley combine with Adrian for the double play. 2 down. And Yasmani Tomas coming up. Tomas has struck out, flied to right, single to left, and scored on that little ball that was smothered by Avilan. Now let's see about Coleman and Roberts. They're not going to mess around. With 2 out in the 8th inning, they're looking to Kenley Jansen for a 4-out save. Here comes the big guy. We'll be back. be on the mound for the Dodgers. And Braden Alec Shipley, young man out of Medford, Oregon, who was a first-round pick just 3 years ago out of the University of Nevada. He'll be on the mound for Arizona. Well, we have 2 out, 8th inning, and Kenley Jansen is asked to get 4 outs. The first one here in the 8th with 2 out, Yasmani Tomas. And a high but very playable fly ball. And it's Jock Peterson. All right, 1 pitch and 1 out. And we're heading to the bottom of the 8th, 8-7 Dodgers. And 13 minutes with 12 runs scoring. There were 7 pitchers used, 3 by the D-backs, 4 by the Dodgers. A total of 91 pitches, 39 by the D-backs, 52 by the Dodgers, and 21 batters, 11 with Arizona and 10 for the Dodgers. 12 runs, weird inning, and we're in the bottom of the 8th, 8-7 Dodgers. Dominic Joseph Leone out of Norwich, Connecticut. Originally 16th round pick by the Mariners out of Clemson. He came over to the Diamondbacks in 2015 after having 2 years with the Mariners. Jock Peterson has had a big night, doubled into and homered with a man aboard. Ball 1. His home run, left home plate line drive, and you were thinking it's going to hit the wall. And in the heat, it was 80 degrees when the game started. The ball just carried, cleared the wall. Though the Dodgers see Peterson leaving the way. By the way, when Arizona comes up in the 9th inning, they are due to have Owings, then a hitter, Segura. 1 ball and 1 strike. Kenley Jansen staying warm. Yeah, staying warm. 1-2. They're in the bottom of the 9th inning in San Francisco. Nationals 4 and the Giants 1, trying to recover from a bases loaded, nobody out, triple play. Two and two. For Leon, fastball, slider, a cutter. He also has a changeup. Wellington Castillo and Dominic Leon came from the Mariners. That sent Mark Trumbo to the Mariners in June of last year. Still 2 and 2. So Godley, Hudson, Curtis, Delgado, and Leon. And he missed with the fastball. 3 and 2. Scott Van Slyke got into this wild ball game and drew a walk, so he's batting ninth. 3 and 2. Time. Leon has been clocked at 97. Three and 2. And strike 3. Jock on his way to first. So 1 away here in the 8th inning. So Peterson back in the dugout, a little unhappy over the call, but he's had a pretty big night. And here's Van Slyke. Scotty walked in the 7th inning and rode home on the home run by Utley. Strike. To repeat, Owings, then the pitcher spot, and Segura. Ground ball up the middle, but Segura's on that side of the bag. Bobbles it, but still throws him out. Two down. Chase Utley, who came up with that clutch home run in the 7th inning.
Number 26, Chase Utley.
There's Utley with Van Slyke aboard, and that tied up the game. And then Seager doubled and eventually came home on a base hit by Grandal. And ball 1. Dodgers have won 5 of 9 from Arizona. Kenley Jansen takes off the hooded jacket. He'll be on the mound in a little while. And ball 2. Roberts using 6 relievers following Kenta Maeda. Chip Hale, he had 4 who did not give him any relief at all. Two and 1. Leon has been in 9 games, and he has an earned run average of over 6. When they brought in Daniel Hudson, remember we were talking about the fact he has an earned run average over 6. Then they brought in Curtis. He has an earned run average over 5. Then they got to Delgado. He has an earned run average of 4 or 5. So not much relief for Hale, and there's ball 4 to Utley.
Shortstop number 5, Corey Seager.
Corey Seager grounded to short, single to left, grounded to first, doubled, and scored. Dodgers 8 runs, 9 hits. Arizona 7 runs, 9 hits. So fast things can change. Goldsmith, standing at first base, cleared the bases with the double against Baez. And then Utley standing alongside of him. It's a big time 2-run home run. Seager's ball is going to be a dying try, but no catch by Bourne. Here comes Utley to score easily. Seager will wind up at third. And the Dodgers lead 9-7. Bourne had a lot of trouble diving, could not come up with it, then couldn't find it. Then when he picked it up, he dropped it. So Seager will probably get a single. Let's see how they play it. Now here comes Bourne. No catch. Lands behind him. Tries to get over and pick it up. And drops it. Needing help now as he slips and slides. And that allowed the Dodgers to take advantage of a base hit to center. So the Dodgers lead 9-7. Seager is now at third. Utley scored. And perhaps they'll give Seager a double and an error, or maybe a goofy triple. This would be a night for that. Turner, a fly ball to the gap. Bourne can't get there. Here comes the left fielder Drury to make a spectacular catch. So Drury gets 5 from Bourne, but the Dodgers get 1. And we're heading to the 9th. 9-7 Dodgers. Ride, and we've come to the 9th inning. The Dodgers 9 runs, 10 hits, and Arizona 7 runs, 9 hits. 1 error that was charged on Bourne on that ball hit by Seager. So Jansen got the out to end the 8th. 11 times he's had 4 out saves, and he'll first look at Chris Owings. Phil Gosselin is out on deck. He's the #1 pinch hitter, really, in the National League. Foul back. Owings going all the way tonight, grounded out, lost a hit on a great play by Turner, and then came up with a big base hit to single to right field in that wild 7th inning. And fly ball down the line. Puig coming over to pick it off. One away. So here comes Goslin. He is the #1 pinch hitter as far as the number of pinch hits. He has 11.
Consider
9-7
Phil
Dodgers.
Goslin.
Phil hitting .275. Goslin's from Westchester, Pennsylvania, went to the University of Virginia and was originally drafted by the Braves. Foul back. Well, the Nationals, pulling off a triple play among other things, beat the Giants 4-1. So a Dodger victory tonight would make the Dodgers 1 game back. Closest, they were a game and a half back, way back on May the 18th. So it has been a while since the Dodgers have been that close. Oh, 0-2 the count to Phil. Jansen trying to put him away. Foul ball. Last year, the Diamondbacks acquired Goslin in the trade with the Braves, who got Bronson Arroyo in the deal. University of Virginia has produced a lot of players. He's the 32nd to get up to the big leagues. Of course, Long Beach State, last we checked, 55 players. Check swing, no swing, 1-2. Last year, Goslin hit .303. One ball and 2 strikes. Fouled away. Jansen had a couple of possible saves, get away on the recent road trip. Most people felt fatigue. Wow. So Goslin chasing one down and away, and he strikes out.
Second baseman number 2, Gene Segura.
Gene Segura has struck out, robbed of a hit by Kendrick, popped up and struck out again. I think he knocked the wind out of himself diving at a ground ball. And here he is, 2 out, 9th inning. And ball 1. Remember the triple play we were talking about that occurred in San Francisco? If you were scoring it, it would be scored 3-3-5. 3 for the putout, 3 for the assist, and 5 at third base. That is the first 3-3-5 triple play in big league history. So if everything else is going wrong for the Giants, now they get hit by that one. 1 ball, 1 strike. So Dave Roberts an out away from being 1 game out of first place. We told you the closest the Dodgers were a game and a half back on the 18th of May. Utley, sure-handed, makes the play. The Dodgers down 7-3, come back to win it 9.